All right, hi guys, welcome to the front-end development workshop, and we can still see that some of our friends is still entering the meeting. So we will still wait for a while, like around 3 minutes. So thank you for your cooperation and patience. All right, thank you. Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome again to our front-end development workshop by GDSC UPM. So I'm Jai, and I will be your MC for tonight. So before we enter our workshop, right, may I know how many of you have zero experience, like totally no experience in web development? Could you guys please give a reaction, like raise a hand or anything? Okay, two of you only. Okay, I can see. Many of you have no experience in web development. That's good because that's why you are here, right? You are here to learn. Okay, so no worries, right? Because today, in this workshop, our speaker will teach you from scratch, like build a website from scratch until you can actually build your own front end project. So talking about our speaker, we are happy. We are really happy to have Ray Gun Boon Kit today. So Ray Gun is a is our ex-GDSC UPM co-lead, and he had represented Malaysia for APEC App Challenge 2022. And he's now currently a full-stack developer at Mindworks Interactive. So I believe you guys are really excited to have our speaker here right now. So without further ado, let us welcome Ray Ganbungkit for his session. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, MC. Yeah, hi guys. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Cool. Let me share my screen. Okay. Is my screen shared?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So hi guys, I'm Ray. So the ex co-lead, and now I'm working as a full stack developer at Mindworks. So here's my company website. So if you guys are interested, you can go and have a look. But then I mainly focuses on front end development, and that's what we are going to talk about today. So let's go into the slides. Yeah. So today will be a very basic. I would say it's the first part of the series. We have two parts. Another one will be on next week. Will be more advanced or more modern front-end development. So here's a agenda on what we are going to talk about today. So basically it's going through some concepts of web development and the most basic pillars of web development, which is you guys will know later. And we have a workshop, I would say a hands-on session, so you guys can go in and play around and learn and ask if you guys have any questions. So let me share. Yeah. So I'll be using Code Sandbox today. I'll share it in here in the chat box so you guys can go and check it out. Okay, maybe not this one, but then you guys can go and sign up and create your own sandbox and we can code along. And later, when the session is going, if you guys have any questions, just open your mic and stop me and ask the questions. Yeah. Okay, then I think I'll go into the workshop now. So the first questions, what is web development? So web development is, I would say, pretty simple. Equals to developing a website that everyone is using today. So the product of web development can be a simple landing page or web application with complicated business logic encapsulated in it. What a example for landing page would be if I Google around. So like this one, it's a landing page. But then I would say in the modern era, most of the websites that we are looking at right now is usually a hybrid of web app and also landing page. It's no longer a simple landing page like what you would have seen in the early days. So if you guys go back to like web 1.0, for example. So yeah, it's not interactive. So if I go for something like a landing page, so a landing page is basically a website that only gives information to the customers or your target audiences. Say you only put the informations and then there's no really business logics. Like you can't really add or interact with it. Yeah, so this is for landing page. And then what is an web application? Web application is something that the user can interact with it. They can log in, they can get authorized, and you have your own account. You can top up money into it. You can buy stuff on it. So for example, what we have for web application is something like Shopee. I think a lot of you are familiar with Shopee. So this is a web app, and you can see, yeah. They have different buttons. You guys can buy stuff inside here. You can go to the product details page, make transactions. So this is an example of what a web app is. It's a website, but it has all the business logic that the customers, the target audience can interact with, like a shopping cart, for example. Other examples of web application will be something like Airbnb, Facebook, TikTok, and other stuff. Yeah. So this is about web development. What is a website, a landing page, a web application? So how it works under the hood is we have different side of things in web development. If you guys are like go and look for, I would say Google search like software engineer, there are actually a lot of different variants of software engineers. So for instance, the most common one would be front end and back end. So what is a front end? A front end would be the things that you are looking on. For example, this app that I'm using, pitch.io, is actually, this is the front end. And then if let's say I want to talk to the database, then I'll need to go through the backend. Maybe this is not a good example. Let me see. Yep. Go back to Shopee. So this is the front end, the UI, or what we call an interface. This is all coded with HTML and CSS and JS. So this is what is showing to the customer, or what we call client side. And then when we are buying stuff, for example, clicking buy now, the logic behind this is handled by the backend. So when I click buy now, it will send a request to the server, and then server will talk to the database saying, okay, this item, the amount -1, and then what is the corresponding thing that you should send back to client. Say I should go to the transaction page and pay for it, and then completing a transaction. So the flow is always like this. The front end talks to the server or the backend, and then the server will talk to the database, and then the server return a response to the client, and then we'll see the results of our transaction. Hope it's clear to you guys. And then now, this will be what we call the pillars of the front-end web development, which is what people usually start with, or how people used to do web development in the older days, say early 90s. So we have HTML, CSS, and JS. HTML is often, if I go here, I go inspect. I'm using Safari, but if you guys are using Chrome, you guys can also see inspect. So all this thing here is called a HTML. So let me see. So they also have styles. So this styles is CSS, which is often manipulating how this thing looks like. So let me go and remove some stuff. Let's see all this style shit. Yeah. Let's find the stuff that all these style sheets are what we call a CSS. It's affecting how these things looks like. So a quick example. I'll open a code pen. So if you guys can see here, this is the information here. This is an HTML. So if let's say I remove all of this, then it will become a without any design or styling at all. And then JS is controlling how we are interacting. Say on hover, these things are showing. These are all JavaScript. So redirecting, like clicking on the button and then it do something for us. This is what we call HTML. Oh no, JavaScript. Sorry. Okay. So this is the pillars, and then there are more modern front-end development, which we'll talk in the next part of the series, which is just a sneak peek. JavaScript libraries, we have React, Review, and other stuff. It helps us to write JavaScript more easily, and we can do stuff. The development process can be speed up, can be way more faster. And then on top of the libraries, we have frameworks, which help us to do stuff in a more ordered or opinionated way, which is saying, okay, people already do stuff for 10 years. This is the best way of doing stuff. We should follow it. So that's why we call opinionated. And then for CSS as well, because easier way to write CSS. Okay, is everything cool so far? Or am I talking too fast? All good?
Yeah, good.
Okay, then let's move on. So some tools that you guys can use to start coding. For beginners, I would say during the learning process, you guys will be using online code editor most of the time because it's easy. You don't have to set up stuff. You don't have to care about the hassle of downloading packages because you are not using that yet. But then after you want to do some real stuff, you want to do some projects, you want to deploy some stuff, then definitely you need to use what we call an IDE, which is a code editor, a local code editor. So something like VS Code. So something like VS Code, for example. So for online code editor, what I've been showing just now, the code sandbox is one of the example. Another example is CodePen. So, and yeah. So what we're using today is code sandbox. And before I start, I think you guys should go and try to log in and then set up a template for HTML so we can code together. So I think I'll give 3 to 5 minutes on this one. If everyone is done logging in and then create an account and create your own sandbox, then put an OK in chat box. So it's easy. Go to the create and then click the static. This one, static GitHub or HTML. If you see this logo, click this, and then it will bring you to a new empty sandbox. So I'll give a 3 minutes maybe. If everyone is done with this, just put a OK in the chat box and I'll check. If you guys have any issues like with setting up this code sandbox, do let me know as well so I can help you. Okay, 2 more minutes. I hope I can receive more okays from the audiences. I think we have 90 in this room. Yeah, we have 80. So hopefully at least 10 okay, 30 okay. Okay. Seems like, yeah, I'm getting more okay. That's good. Hope to get more interaction here. And I think I'll continue with the slides. So what I've been showing just now is HTML. Like when I'm inspecting, you guys can see the HTML. It basically say that's the structure of the website. So HTML is hypertext markup language. It describes the structure of a web page, and then it's I would say a collection of elements. It tells our browser, or what we call client, to display the content. An easy way. I'll use Shopee again. So when I inspect, you guys can see each of the stuff on the website actually corresponds to an element. So this is the nav bar, like top of the nav bar. So this is an element. So the HTML itself tells the browser on how to render stuff. For example, a quick one, I can actually copy this and paste another one if you want to. So you see, I have to. And then another fun stuff that you guys can do, say, okay, maybe this is harder. Let me just go with this one. So this is also an element. So you guys can actually play with stuff in a browser. So say GDSC here. Then immediately you can change the content on the website. But then it's not safe because you are just dealing with the browser. It's not really affecting the real website. Yeah, but then there are stuff that people can work around, like usually hackers, they can what we call injecting some script onto the website, then it will send to the backend, and then it will kind of destroy your backend. But then for changing the HTML is nothing fancy. But then yeah, you guys can play around after the workshop. So let me continue here. So when we are saying about your structure, so you see H1 it's actually called heading 1, the title tag. All of these are tags. So when you're creating an HTML plain HTML file, this is what you should expecting. There's a HTML. This is just a decorator saying that okay, this is HTML. Which version? Is it the latest one, HTML5, or some other legacy stuff? And then we have HTML tag. And then inside the HTML, we have head and body. Head is actually what we call a metadata. So you guys can't see it here. But then it's basically saying, for example, when I go to this, okay, maybe not this, like this one. Okay, that's not a good example there. I'm going another one. Moment. So what you are seeing here, Shopee Malaysia free shipping. This is actually what it's stated in the head tag. When you want people to visit your website, what should they see here or in the preview when you are Google searching? It's all inside the head. So I go head, I can find the title. Let me go here. So this is the title. So if I don't put this, I put GDSC UPM workshop, front end workshop. Then it should change here, if you guys can see. So this is what we call the head. And then inside head, there's a lot of metadata. Let me find meta. This metadata actually tells the bot or scraper, if you guys know, Google scrape your information, your website information, so they can rank it on the Google search. So these are what controlling what a good SEO is. If you guys heard of SEO content, SEO optimization, they often add a lot of stuff into the head. So this is just an example. So search again Shopee. So this stuff you guys are seeing here is actually controlled by the stuff inside the head. Okay. Now going back here, the body tag is where the things are rendered. It's shown in the browser to you guys. Close this one. So for example, H1 tag. We actually have H1 up until H2. And then for every tag, like most of the tags, you need to close it with a corresponding closing tag. So this is H2. What's the difference? It's by default, H1 and H2, there's a, let's say, a styling to them, applied to them. If you didn't remove them, that's another topic, which is what we call a like clearing or resetting the CSS, then everything will be the same. But then for now, we are not doing that. We are just doing simple stuff here. So you guys can try it. For H5. Okay, so this is an example on the heading. Why the heading is important, because like when we are writing creating a website, there are some things that we want to emphasize on. Say that's a most important stuff in our document, so they should read this first, or it should be folders. It should catch the attention immediately. Then maybe you put it as a H1 tag. Yeah, so you guys can play around with it inside the sandbox that you guys just created just now. And then what we have for a paragraph is a P tag. This is a paragraph. So you guys can see. This I would say is the most basic stuff. And then we have something we call a div, or a div as in it's a container. It contains stuff. Say this one should be here. And then what it does, the div, you guys can see later when I'm introducing on CSS. But then for now, it's a container, but where we group things together. So init trig. So if you guys hit command, I'm using command. I'm not sure what's that on Windows. Command and then a front slash, a command plus front slash, then you get a comment. What a comment is, it's not rendered. So this is the comment. It is not rendered. So I save it. You guys can't see it on the screen. And unless I mess up the comment. So what a comment is something like it is what it is like commenting means you want to tell someone what this part of the code is about, what this line should do, what this section, this component should do. So how you write a comment in HTML is this, and then you put your stuff inside. So this is basically HTML with the tag gate. So you know this is a comment. It will render it. So after this, here's a reminder to myself on what I should show you guys. We have buttons. So button. This is a button. And then when you want to show image, here's a different stuff, a different thing. So image is a self-enclosing type. Means it don't need another image type. Doesn't work like this. But then it is actually self-enclosing. So how we use an image type is we usually need to put an alternative. It's called ALT. Means when the source is not found or it's failing, then what it should show. Maybe it's a website. So this is an alternate tag. And then if you want to put some image inside, then we use source. So let's go and find some stuff. Go on splash. Okay, I go and copy the image address. And I put it inside here. And I save it. Then I'll see it. So this is for image tag. Then we have something what we call an input. So usually you guys can see a form online, but then we don't need a form to use input. Let me hide this. This is too large. Okay, input is also self-enclosing. So the most basic one is a text input. But then how we determine a different input here is there's a type for input type. So there's a lot of type. Just to show a few. So most common one, a text, number, it can be a date as well. So this is a text input. And then this should be a number. This is a number input where you can only put in number. And then if let's say you submit and then you put text, then it will prompt you, hey, this is a number input. You should only put in numbers. And we have a date input. And we also have a color input, a color picker. So you guys can play around with this. Yeah, text area. Okay. Oh, fuck. Moment. Let me go back to here. Yeah. Let me see. Let's create a very long stuff. Yeah. Okay. For text area, that should be something like a row number of row or number of columns that you can do for this. So let me go and find it out. Area include okay. Okay, seems like okay. Let's use this then. Text area. Okay, let me see how input type. Yeah. Okay. What I'm showing just now is this is a reference. You guys can go to here, W3 School, or when you guys Google search, most of the time this will show up where it tells you what you can use for like all the HTML. It's all in here, but then I'm showing just the more basic one that we are using today. So what we have just now is text area. And close. Yep. So far so good. Just give me a thumbs up if you guys want, if you guys can. So that's about input. Input is usually on, we want to let the user to input or write some stuff, send us some stuff, submit some stuff. For button, there's type as well, where if it's inside a form, then maybe there's type for submit, then we'll know when it's inside a form, when we are clicking on that button, it should submit something and send it somewhere. So this is about input, and I'm going to talk about some the common or the basic stuff. So if you guys want to write a list, you don't do it like this. Item 1, this one. So usually we don't do this, or if you guys are thinking, okay, do I do this? If let's say I want to create a list, let me put some stuff. Moment, please. Let me close subtabs so it's not in. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Going back here. So we have a list. We don't do lists like this. But then we have text in HTML to help us do things. So we have this is what we call an ordered list. And then inside list, we have list items. So this is item 1. And this is item 2, for example. And then if let's say I don't want it to be 1, 2, 3. I want it to be bullet points. Then I can use something. The tag is called UL. It's called unordered list. So it's bullet 1. And then we have bullet 2. Cool. Now let me show. Okay, button input. Then we can actually do tables in HTML using TB, TH, TR, and TD. It's I'm not sure if I have enough time here, but then let me just show you real quick. Okay, before this, I think we have TH. Oh, let me go back here and then let's find the table tag. Okay, TH and T body. TH, TR. So just a explanation here. Let me go back here. The table is correct. Okay, it should be TH here. TH. Okay, is everything good here? Okay, I'll explain it here. So what you guys can see is I'm trying to create a table, and for table there's header row and also the body section, which is a lot of rows of data. So for T table, I have a T head and I have a T body, and then every T head will have a TR. It's a row, table row, and TH stands for the table header. And then for the body itself, it's also the same thing, but then we have a row, but then inside it's not a TH, it's not a header, but it's TD. It's a table data. Yeah, so this is something that you guys can play around with. Actually, when you guys go to, for example, this W3 school is a reference. Just try it yourself so you guys can see it here. So this is just an example of the table tag. Just a brief intro. And for myself, I rarely use this in my day-to-day work. It depends on the nature of the project that you're working on. Okay, I think I pretty much covered these. So I'm moving on to CSS. And after CSS, you guys can play around a little bit with CSS and HTML together. Is that okay? Is that cool? I'll take it as a yes then. Okay. So for CSS, it's called cascading style sheet, which is what I've been showing you is empty unstyled HTML document. So CSS is used to style and lay out the web page, so we can change a lot of stuff. We can change some things like the font size, the color of the text, the background color, or the spacings. We can make it. If you guys notice, actually everything that we are doing now is all like stacked vertically. We are not doing stuff horizontally. So with CSS, we can do that. And then we can add animations and some really cool stuff. If you guys want to, that's something you guys can explore after learning the basics. And as you guys know, for websites, there's actually, it's not only on laptop, because nowadays everyone is using phone. So what should it look like when it's on a phone? It shouldn't be taking this much of space or width on the website. So maybe on website, it should have its own look. This is what we call a mobile responsive design. So I go to inspect and I click here. Yeah. Let me try to refresh and see. Yep. And then immediately after I refresh, you guys can see it detects the screen size that I'm having here. It's an iPhone screen size, and it becomes a mobile design. It looks a bit different than the website one, and this is what we call mobile responsive. All of this can be done using CSS. Okay. Now going to the CSS part. So don't mind if I remove this first. So to do CSS, first you guys have to create a new file. Call it a style.css or anything you guys like. Then inside the head, you guys add a link. Is it type or relevance? Go and see my example here. Yeah. Basically, it's this one. So it's taking a reference from the style.css. So for instance, if I go right body and background color, it's going to be big blue. Then you guys can see it changed. So let me paste it here. So you guys can add it into your head and then see the changes. So 1 minute for everyone to add the CSS link into your head, into your HTML head. Okay, I'll put this here also, so you guys can see. Is everyone done with this part? If you guys are done, then send me a yes. I want 5 yes. Two more. Please send me a yes when you're done adding this CSS type, this link type into the sandbox. Okay, then I think I'll continue here. So for instance, what I'm doing here is I'm saying that for the body tag, I want it to have a yellow background. Okay. Jeez. Then maybe for the div tag, I want it to have a different color. And then this will change all the div tag inside the HTML. It'll change the styling. And then this is just an example for the background color. We can do other stuff. So for example, there's two very important stuff, or important property in CSS that you'll use every day. For instance, padding. Padding is like adding a spaces. Okay, maybe not two div at a time. Let me hide this one first. So if you guys can see difference between having a padding and not having a padding, this is true lives. You guys can see here. More clearer way of seeing this is using a inspect. Go here. Okay. Wait a moment. I think I'm not using this. I use my Chrome one. Okay, I use my GitHub. Okay. Close this. So if you guys see here, when I click on this, it'll tell me, okay, this is the padding. Means I'm adding the spaces for the div. But then if you guys notice, the spaces, they have the same background styling as my div tag. Another thing that we can have is what we call a margin. Margin is also spaces, but then the spaces is kind of like not having the styling. So like go back to my HTML file and I uncomment it here. Then you guys can see there's a margin between these two. So if you guys can see and inspect this div, I have a 10 pixel of margin inside like 10 pixel of that space that is like between me and my next div. So I have 10 pixel here, and for the next div is also 10 pixel, and it's without solid. So this is for the padding and also margin. But then what if I don't want it to be like padding on each side? Because now it's applying on top, left, bottom, and right? What if I want it to be only X and Y? So it can be something like this. 0 pixel. Then this is saying that, okay, for the top, or we will call it Y, we want it to have 10 pixel of padding. But then for Y, we want it to be for X, we want it to be 0 pixel. So this is what we call a shorthand. And again, same trick here, command plus a front slash, then you'll get a comment. So this is a shorthand for padding and margin. Let's say it's a 2, then it's a Y and X axis. And then what if I want to control like each side individually? CSS padding shorthand. So it's either we want to do this, which is specifying top, left, right, bottom individually. We can do something like a shorthand, which is something like this. So it's top, right, bottom, left. Again, going back to inspection, then we can see the top, left, bottom, right is going anti-clockwise. But then this is what we call a shorthand for padding and margin. It does the same thing. Or if you guys want to, then you guys can do something like individually. Or right. That's an example. And then it's not only pixel that we can define. We can define something like a percentage. You will take up percentage. Yep. CSS percentage. Percentage. I think it's let me see if I have. Okay. Percentage a bit hard to explain for me, but then I use other. So we have 1 rem. 1 rem means 1 rem is actually equals to 16 px because it's the base font size of our website. So maybe I don't use div here. I use p so you guys can see it clearer. Yeah, just put font size 2 rem. And you guys see it's as large as the H1. We have 1 rem. 1 rem is the rem is equals to the base font size, which is 16 pixel. Then we also have something called EM. Rem is actually called relative EM. So this EM will be based on the font size, base font size of the div or the parent. Okay, I think this sounds a bit more difficult now. But then just an example that for the padding, it's not only for ref. I mean, not only pixel. You can use EM. You can use REM. You can use percentage, or you can even use something like a view width or a view height. This is just an introduction. You guys can find out more when you guys are doing projects in the future. And then you guys can use percentage. Then there can be a view width, and also view height. Okay. This is for div, but then for us, when we are doing stuff, we wouldn't want to say, hey, I want every div to look the same. sometimes I want this div to have some different stuff than the other one. So in this case, we might want to add some identifier to it. So what's an identifier that we can use? It can be something like a class or ID. For ID, so go here. We put inside the div tag or every tag, you can add an ID here. You put ID equals to say first, the first div. So I change it to hashtag first. And you guys can see only the element with the first ID is applied this styling. So for IDs, we do hashtag. And then we have another thing we call a class. So class, this is this is content. Yeah, this is a content class. So for content, we use a dot content, and then it's a heading of say 10 pixel and 10 pixel. Then it'll be applying. So both of them can be used at the same time, but then it might override each other. Override means, so for example, if I have a class and ID at the same time, which one should it use first? So this is a concept, what we call a specificity, where you can use, where one will override each other if it clashes. So we have padding 10 pixel and 20 pixel here. If I put 0 and 0, then the ID one should take over. And then this is just one way of doing stuff. If let's say today, I don't have a CSS link here, I don't have the link to the style sheet, I comment out this. Then another way of how we can write CSS, but then it's not a preferred way, is what we call an inline CSS. So go to the tag that you want to change. We put style equals the stuff inside is still the same like what we are doing just now. So say it's background color to be blue. So this is what we call inline style. Heading 10 pixel, 20 pixel. It still do the same thing, but then it's not a preferred way of doing stuff. And for this one, it actually has a specificity as well. So it's actually overriding it's on top of ID and class. So ID is on top of class, and inline is on top of ID. So go back here, you guys can see this padding is override by the ID. And then now if I put back the style, inline style, then you'll override again. So the idea here is that, to summarize this, use hashtag to target ID, to target element with specific ID. And then you use dot to target element with specific class name. Then if the styling clashes, the priority is inline is greater than ID, greater than class name. So I hope this makes sense to you guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions or like want to try out stuff. Let me go back here. So here are some that is related to fonts. So let me close this first. This is too bad. So for font sizes, I can change stuff here. So font size can be 20 pixel, font weight can be bold, and text align can be so this is an example of like changing the font related properties. Let me go back here. Let's see. Okay. We can also change the color of the text. So for color, we are not limited to here. The choices here. We can use something like a color code. Say I want a green color code. Use this one. I can use a color code to style stuff. I can use something like what we call RGB, like 400. Use RGB, or if you guys want to deal with the opacity, you can use RGBA. It stands for alpha. Maybe alpha is 50, and it becomes like 50% opaque. Oh, not 50, 0.5. The maximum is 1. Then it will become like slightly like transparent a bit. And another thing that you guys can try out when dealing with colors, you guys can use HSL. It stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. It's another way of doing things or applying color in CSS. So far, any questions in CSS? You guys can put it down in the comments if anyone have. If no, then before I end the CSS styling part, there's some concepts that I feel like I should let you guys know, so you guys have more, like, you guys are more willing to get started in doing your own project or try to learn the CSS. So let me go back to here. I remove this content. Okay. So by the way, for ID and class name, you guys might be wondering, when should I use class or when should I use ID? So a general like idea is, for class name, maybe inside a website, there are many repeated places that you are using the same thing. Say it's a card component. So we should use class name for a card component. When we should use class when styling that card component. So we will do something like card and padding 10 pixel, 20 pixel, and all the stuff. We should name it by the components, by what it's supposed to do. And for ID, it's more of a unique stuff where sometimes only every component has their own unique ID. Yeah, if you guys can get what I'm trying to say here. But then back to here. So if you guys can see here, this H1 tag and this paragraph tag, they are stacked vertically. So if I want to make them style horizontally, how should I do it in CSS? So there's something called a flag. Because by default, everything in HTML is stacked vertically. So just like when you're writing a paragraph, it's everything you write from top to bottom. I mean, yeah, like when you start a new paragraph, you start like top to bottom. You won't say you start another at the middle, you start a new paragraph. Like you won't start horizontally, you start vertically. So this is how HTML usually works as well. So display flags, it has a flags direction property. So the default HTML is doing flags column. So when you apply flags, then the default will become a flags row. So let me go in here. So you guys can see this is a flags, what we call flags. So if you guys are using Chrome, you guys can use this to check stuff. So inside flags, we have something called a primary direction and secondary direction. If flags direction is row, means the row is the primary direction. So the concept here is we have primary direction and a secondary direction. Yep. So what does this have to do with us? So we actually have something called justify content, where we want to how we want to place the items inside our flex box. This is what we call when we start with flex. It's called flex box. So I don't want them to like stick together. I want them to like separate out. So in this case, I can use something called space between. And you guys can see it's space like this. And then cool thing that Chrome has is they have this. So if let's say I want to do space around, this is how it will look like. And then if you guys can see, this is not centered in the secondary direction. If you guys remember, flex direction row means that's my primary direction. I want to align the secondary direction. I'll use something called align content. Wait, yeah. Wait, is it align content? Okay, align items. So let me refresh this and do it again. Align item center. Okay. Then I'll make it center here, if you guys can see. Or they have something called flex end and flex start. Flex end basically means the end of the direction. And I actually have there's a very neat article out there where you guys can have a look when you guys want to play around with Flexbox. Yeah, let me share it here. Okay, PG control. So when I started learning about web dev, about CSS, I also used this guide to learn about how Flexbox works. So there's a lot of stuff that I won't cover today. So you guys can have a look here when you guys are dealing with Flex in the future. Yep. So this is just a quick thing. Let me go here. Okay. Moment. Yep. Okay, then I think I'll end the CSS part here. I have prepared a template that you guys and me will work on it today as a part of the workshop. But then before this, just let me see. Yeah, let me just briefly explain about JavaScript. So JavaScript is handling more on the interactivity of the browser. Just now when you guys see here, when I click a button, it's not doing anything. But then with JavaScript, it can do something for me. Like I can console log or I can make an alert. So if I go here, right, very cool stuff. So I can do something like console.log. This is what we call console. This is cool. So this is what I'm writing now. This is JavaScript. So I can do something like so you guys can see this is alert. And then yeah, maybe I'll share the template that we can start working on today. So I'm gonna share. So you guys go into this sandbox and then you guys click on the fork. Then it should create a new sandbox with this same code in the same same code, same file. I give you guys a 3 minutes to do this. Is this okay? Like everyone can go into this. Let me see if it's the correct one. Yep, it's the right one. So yeah, 3 minutes, you guys go into this sandbox and then you try to fork or clone it onto your own sandbox and we can start working on this together. And then if you guys are done, just send me a done in a chat box so I can continue with the workshop. 3 minutes. If you guys need any help, like open your mic or like just ask and I'm ready to help. Okay, so after you click on fork, right, you'll go back to your dashboard. Then you should see it created here for you. Like you will have the like. Let me just do it real quick. So you click fork, and then so this is actually the fork one. And then if you guys can't find it, you go back to the dashboard, and then you guys can see it as well. Is everyone done with the cloning? I can give you guys like 2 more minutes maybe. We are a bit out of time here. Just send me a yes. Okay, more yes, please. Hope that you guys are following. More yeses. Everyone? Because I can see we have how many? We have 116, 115. We should have more. We should have more responses in the chat box. Okay. Then I'll continue with this. So a quick example, like quick thing that I hope you guys can do it for me. So as you guys can see here, so for the styling, we already done this. Like we put a link tag, so it's referencing from our style.css. The href is set to style.css, which is here in our folder. So maybe the first thing, can you guys like go and change the title for me in the header title? I mean, yeah, in the H1, and there's an ID header. Maybe can you guys go and change it for me real quick? And then you guys can play around with the CSS where you want to change the background color to something different. And yeah, maybe changing the header to center align on your sandbox. This is a to-do list. So as you guys can see, the example here that we are working on is a to-do list. So the expected outcome of this is where we can write something in the input. This is the first item. And then when we click add, it should add to the item. Say we have a list here, it should show here. Yeah. We have a list here. Then maybe I'll put it out. This one. So what we can do here. Okay, let me show you guys. I'm not sure if this might be intimidating, but then there's actually a lot of stuff in JavaScript. I would say basics of programming that you guys can do here is like declaring a variable. How we can declare a variable is using var. This is an older way of doing stuff. Variable, older way. So we can put a string, and nowadays we use cons and let. Okay. Two, three. So moving on, I mean, HTML and CSS and JS, the difference is JS is actually more like a programming language where you can have variables, you can do a lot of stuff like if you guys have a bit of programming basics, say mapping or doing arrays, yeah, you guys can do that in JS, but not in HTML and CSS. HTML, as you guys can see, it's a bunch of tags. And then for CSS, is also like the tag within, I would say, inside the curly braces is the properties that you guys set. So for JS, it starts to get a bit more of a programming style. So, but then when we are talking about JavaScript in a web development world or in the older era, so what we do is we usually declare functions. We declare functions, and then we kind of, for each of the buttons here, we reference it with a function. So when we click on the button, it'll do something, do some functions, basically. So what I'm going to do here is I'll put in the functions. I'll show you guys how it works and then explain it from there. Is that okay? So if you guys see here, just now we did something like button, but then the button can't do anything because we didn't give them a function to do stuff. So for the button, there's actually a on-click property where we can do stuff here. Say on click, we should add an item. So the function that we are doing here is add item. So I say add item, save it, then it should add an item. So item 1. Okay, so before we want to make our JavaScript work, we should write a script type, and then the source of the script will be the JS file that we are writing on. So you guys can go and uncomment this. It's either you guys go and remove this front and back, or you guys can do command front slash to uncomment this, and then save it. Then we can run our script here. So I can do item 1, I can add item 2. So let me go in here. This is what we call a function. There are a few ways that we can write a function. Most basic way is something like this. I'll change it from here directly. The most basic way would be bring it the right way. Function. Okay. This is the most basic way of us writing a function in JavaScript. So let me comment this out. So another way would be like letting it this is another way of writing a function in JavaScript. So if you guys can see here, it's also working. So it's like declaring and give an arrow here. Then this is how we call a function. We can declare a function. Now I will might be a bit hard to get, but then I try my best to explain it here, how JavaScript can work together with HTML and CSS. So for every browser, we have, by default, it's called a document. Like this whole thing here is a document. And then what JavaScript can do is I can get something called item. Yeah, let's go item. So you guys can see this is the item, the input. Here's an input item ID. So it get this. Basically, what it do is get this input with ID item. Then I check if the input for this is not empty. By I use a if statement to check whether the value is empty. So if it's empty, then I won't do anything. If it's not, then I can add stuff. Okay, now it has a value. Then what we will do is we will use document dot create element. Means I want to create an element with li tag. It will be something like this. Li. And then, okay, this is a bit hard here. Okay, this is saying that I want to create a text node inside. It's like I want to give a value to it, but then we can not use this as well. Like, this is not necessary. Let me use another example. HTML equals to item value. Okay. So this is saying that inside this li is actually inner HTML. So what I'm doing here is for the inner HTML, I'm giving it the item.value or the value from the input. And then I'll try to append it to our whole document. So here, this is a div saying that I want to get this div. This div, I actually put a shopping list ID. Shopping list ID. If you guys can see, it's empty here, right? It's empty. Empty list for now. But then with this, what I'm saying is I want to find this list and I want to add my list tag onto this shopping list div or tag. And then here I reset the input to empty. So let me share with you guys. So I inspect here. Oh, okay. If you guys can see, like inside this shopping list, it's empty. It does not have anything. Where is this working? Okay, geez, it's not. Let me go back to my Chrome. Chrome, go back here. Okay. So if you guys can see here, it used to be empty. If I refresh, when I inspect, you guys can see the shopping list is empty. It's not having anything here. So what the HTML, what the JavaScript does is it will first create a tag using create element. And then this is the tag name. And then I find this UL tag with shopping list ID, and then I add more children into it. So if you guys see here, item 1, item 2, you can add more stuff here. This is for the adding part. So let me think. Go in here. So we can actually do other stuff as well, like changing the CSS or changing text in here. So let me do a quick one. So like this is like that title document dot. So there are a few things. Whether I want to get by ID, or I can get by the class name, or I can get by the tag name, or I can do something different. Or if let's say I use query selector, then this will be something like, if I want to get by ID, I actually do things like this. This looks familiar because this is how we do, how we are writing in CSS to target the ID. If let's say I want to do class, then it will be a dot. This is also how we do in CSS. So it's the same format if let's say we are using query selector in JS. But then, yep, let me go back to my, so you guys can see the ID is header, and then I can do change CSS. So header, header, and then I can say I want to change the header to something else. Inner HTML equals to header. So here I can like change to this function here. See whether it works here. Okay. Query selector. Okay, it's not dot header, it's hashtag header. Let me double check. Header ID. Okay. Then you guys can see it changes. So this is saying that I am targeting the component, not component, the tag. Okay, let's call it element. Everything here is an element. Element with hashtag header means with ID header. And then I'm changing the content. I'm changing the content of the header, the element. What do I mean by content? So if I refresh here, you guys can see the header is to-do list. This is the inner HTML that I'm saying, that I'm referring to. If let's say I change it, I click on this, then you guys can see the inner HTML changes to this. So yeah, this is inner HTML, but I can change the CSS as well. Title. What should I change then? Let me see. The title.color will be equal to red. Okay, it's not working here. Let me see. Dot style. Dot style. We can change the CSS as well using this style, and then got a lot of stuff for you guys to explore. So you guys can try to like add a clear list, add the function here, and then see whether the list clear after doing this. Okay, for now, it's not going to work for now. And yeah, just this is a quick thing. The onload means when the page load, then the onload will trigger. So here we don't have anything, right? So I actually have a function here called add date. you guys can see when a page load, it'll add the current date, not the current date, but then you'll add a date here. Let me see. Yep. New date. D.get month. Okay, the month is wrong. But then, yeah, you guys get what I'm trying to say here. So on load will trigger when the website is loaded. Yeah, I think that's pretty much here for the JavaScript part. Let me see. Yep. MC, I think, do you want to move on to Q&A now?
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Ray, for the session. And I believe all of you have a deeper understanding at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript already. So now we will move on to the Q&A session. If you have any question or you are unclear about any part of it just now, you can just open your mic to us or type in the chat box. Or if you are shy to let people know who are you, you can click the Slido link that we have sent in the chat box, or our technical team will actually share the QR code just in a minute. So you can click into the link and type in your question so that we can see it and we will let Ray to answer it. Okay, so I have seen some of the questions already. So okay, let us go through one by one. Okay, so first of all, front end and back end, which one is harder, Ray?
I think this is something to explore, but then for beginner, I think if you want to learn, you can learn the basics first, because at the end of the day, you'll do more when you start to work on projects. Then you'll know which one is harder for you, because there are different types of people. Some feel that front end is harder, some feel that back end is harder because they don't like for front end, they don't like to deal with CSS, they don't like to deal with styling. And then for backend is harder, they don't like to deal with the logics and databases. Yeah, so there isn't an answer here, but then yeah, I think this should answer the question. It depends on person.
Okay, yeah, go and explore. I think you guys need to explore yourself, like see which one is more suitable for you. Okay, next, how much time do I need to master front end basic? How much time do you need?
I'm not quite sure, because there isn't, because for all of us, I think we don't really have that time. Let's say you guys are still studying, and then you guys need to focus on your study while learning. It might take some time, but then I would say the best way to do this is to, after you learn all the stuff, what you should do is try to convert it into a project or a small project, a hobby project. Then you can learn in the process. Then after a few projects, then you get to master the basics. Yeah.
Okay, so don't afraid to do your own project. Next, where can I learn to code for free?
Yeah, I actually have a few resources that I can share with you guys, which I used to learn, used when I start learning. So you guys can go free code camp. There's a responsive web design certification. So it teaches about CSS and HTML. And then it's actually, I go to free code camp because it's part of the Odin project curriculum. So you guys can go and find it out. So the Odin project is basically a free online curriculum where it teaches you guys about, it has two paths, Ruby on Rails or JavaScript. So you guys can choose which one you guys want. So
Okay,
full stack.
Yeah, continue.
I mean, full stacks means it teaches you back end and front end. So you get to know which one you like more, or you like both. Yep.
Okay, so you guys can note down the resources Ray sent just now. And also there are pretty much YouTube channels that are teaching front end or back end or anything you want to learn actually. So yeah, go and you can just explore the any resources now. Okay. So next question, are there any easy projects for beginners to start with?
Yeah, moment. Let me send. Let me send a few. So for example, you guys can go this Finance Mentor, where there are some like the challenges you guys can go and have a look. So basically, it's some stuff that you guys can start doing while as a project or as a path, I would say project for you to learn stuff. You guys can go to here. There's difficulties. Say you feel like you're a junior, then you take the beginner one. There are more advanced stuff. You can try it later.
Okay. So for the next question, is the I think software developer market good right now?
I mean, for me, I'm from statistics background. I didn't took computer science or software engineering, so it's self-taught. So if you are interested, then you should go for it. I mean, it's a good career to, let's say you want to go abroad or even stay here. The pay is the pay is generally better, and then most of the time you have the option to work from home. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a dream job lah. Can work from home. Okay. What's the difference between var, constant, and let?
Okay.
I think you
So
mentioned.
these questions actually, okay, the answer you guys can go and Google around. But then the more easier way of saying things is constant means you can't really change the value anymore when you are set the variables. But then if let's say you're constantly an array or object, you can actually still manipulate it. And then for var is the older way of doing variables, and let is the newer way, because for var it can be sometimes mess up if let's say the what we call like block scope or global variables, they can sometimes mess things up. So that's why for now we are using const and let most of the time. Like stop using
Okay.
var. Yeah.
Okay, I think you guys can actually explore it yourself, because that it is impossible to learn everything about these three things in just 2 hour session. So yeah, I mean everyone has to explore it ourselves. So yeah. Okay, next question. What is the best source to learn front end? I think Ray had just sent a few just now, and also the CSS tricks just now Ray give you guys when during the tutorial session. Yeah, so to explore it. Okay, next question. Do I need to learn programming before learning front end?
No, not really. So the responsive web design certification is teaching you HTML and CSS. I wouldn't say it's like you have to learn programming to do that. You can learn programming by start doing that, and then you learn JS and you learn more other stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And next, is it true that there are more competitors in developer field compared to other fields such as AI and cyber security?
Okay. I'm not sure what the competitors mean. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I think he's asking that is software developer like in terms of finding job, is it
Oh,
harder to find in software developer than AI and cybersecurity?
I mean, um, not really. If let's say you go and find software engineer job Malaysia, comparing to AI job Malaysia, then you can see the Google search results. Which one is more? Because generally, like software developer is in demand, but then for other more niche field like AI, cybersecurity, I would say maybe the demand is high, but then maybe lesser companies hiring for that. And then you might have other stronger competitors for that.
I see. But I think the most important is you go for what you are really interested in, what you really like. Don't just follow the trend or the market. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so lastly, can JS do backend JavaScript?
Yeah, you can use JS to do backend. So for instance, you guys can go and check it out. Um,
Okay.
Express JS. on Nest.js, these are some of the backend frameworks that is using JS to do stuff, do backend stuff.
Okay, so you guys can explore it, Express.js and Nest.js. Okay, I think that's all for the Q&A session. Any more questions that you guys want to ask that is not asked just now? You guys can open your mic right now. 3, 2, 1, no. Okay, thank you, Ray, for the session and for the tutorial and the Q&A sessions. So right now we will take a group photo. So I need you guys to open your camera. Don't be shy. Okay, show your faces. And meanwhile, while waiting for the others to open the camera, you guys maybe can tidy up a little bit, comb your hair or anything. Okay, so guys, please turn on your camera. I can't see you guys right now. Don't be shy, okay? There are hundreds of you. Okay,
And
I
then
can
I
see
think
some of you already.
for the next week session, I'll be sharing more of the modern web development stuff, which is what you would expect to do during your internship or work if, let's say, you are going to for an software engineering internship.
Yeah, that's right. So you guys can mark down your calendar already. Next Saturday, this 3rd of December from 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. So yeah, as what we just said, he will be teaching modern frameworks that we'll be using in the industry right now. So yeah, please come to the session to learn more about web development. And I believe after the session, you might like how to say, you can find a job already if you like continue to do your projects and so on. Yeah, it's a great kickstart. All right. So please join the session next Saturday. And I can see many of you still haven't opened your camera. Please, guys, show your face. I know you're handsome or pretty. So yeah, just open your cam and let us see you. Only 7 people. Very kesian leh. Come on, guys, open your cam. Okay, we wait 1 more minutes, okay? And meanwhile, yeah, you can comb your hair or anything. There are 125 of you, and only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of us had opened the camera. Not even 10%. Oh yeah, Ray has sent his. This is your LinkedIn, right?
Yep, this is my LinkedIn profile. So if you guys are interested, like you guys wanna like reach out to me or ask some questions about other stuff, yeah, just feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Here's my link.
Come on, open your camera. Yes. Okay, so yeah, meanwhile, you guys can go to follow Ray on his LinkedIn and also follow our GDSC Instagram account and yeah, join our WhatsApp group to get more information or about the future events. Okay, if that's all, then I think we will take the group photo already. So Ben will take the photo, right? Okay, so first click we will. Any more want to open your cam, please? I beg you guys lah, okay? Please lah. Open your camera. We want to have a nice picture. We need a lot of people, a lot of faces. Yeah. Okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, I can see more of you are opening your camera right now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. That's all, really, yeah. Okay, then we will take our photo. First click, we will do a freestyle first, so just do anything, please. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Then you are taking, right? Okay, so second photo we will do GDSC logo. So just put a piece and then join them together. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you guys, thank you. And reminder again, next Saturday, 3rd of December from 8 to 10:30 p.m. Wish to see you guys again. And last but not least, our merit or the attendance form. So our technician will share the QR code right now. You guys can scan the QR code and fill in the attendance. Okay, we have sent the link in the chat box also, so you can also click into the link and fill up your attendance before you leave. All right, for the merit and yeah, for our record purpose. And thank you guys for attending today's session. Thank you for your time and hope you do learn a lot from our speaker. And yeah, hope to see you guys next week. Bye.
All right, bye guys. Thanks for joining.
After you guys fill in the form, then you can go to rest already, okay? Thank you and good night.